everybody? Welcome back to another Batman News Weekly. This is episode 165 in year 4, and I just have to say it's actually been a really shit week for me, to be honest. If I'm being really honest, there's been a lot of shit going on that's kind of shitty. But in terms of being a Batman News Weekly episode, it's been a great week because the new head of DC Studios essentially told all the Snyder cultists to go fuck themselves in the nicest way possible.
Oh,
Dude, this is my dream. I've been waiting for this. I even said, even when me and Clay were always having arguments about the Snyderverse and it's never coming back, it's a pipe dream, and I was wrong. I always said the one thing I wanted was for Zack Snyder to come out and just say hey, the bad shit isn't good, blah, 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 blah. But, I appreciate your stuff. He never did any of that. He just said, yeah, I'm glad you guys are doing what you're doing. He's still doing that, by the way. I saw an interview today that was all if you guys want to write some letters or whatever, go ahead. He's like, but I'm happy where I'm at. And I'm like, bro, stop. And it's what fuels the fire. And I hate it. But now we have a new head of DC who's replied to everybody. He was like, hey, I woke up to all of these Save the Airverse things and hey, I love your passion. You guys are awesome. But we're actually going to go. You have the quote? Do you have the quote up?
I actually want to
go ahead and say the quote.
I want to bring everything up as far as that goes. This post was actually made on Twitter while he has also made a Mastodon account.
Yeah.
Have you tried that yet? Have you downloaded it at all?
So there's a bunch of different alternatives for Twitter right now. Dude, seeing everybody have a check mark right now is just nauseating for me.
It's oh man, I saw one thread of just people impersonating different people.
Yeah.
And it's getting out of hand, man.
I saw because I have a group chat with some other friends that are really into sports and stuff. And there's an article about how sports Twitter has become just a shit show. Because now they're taking all the people that break news are using their names, which impersonating is not supposed to be real, according to Elon. And they're just saying Dallas Cowboys signed so-and-so. And it's not even real. And everybody's like, oh shit. And it's just to get clicks and stuff. I'm like, everybody knew this was going to happen except Elon. He's a fucking dumbass. But anyway, there's a bunch of alternatives out there. I downloaded one named Tribal, who is
I've never heard of that.
It's an anti-Elon guy, a billionaire or millionaire that's running this. And he's like, yeah, we're not going to allow all this shit you're allowing. But I don't know if that's going to be popular or not. Because I don't know if that's going to be more just political bullshit, which kind of sucks. But it looks like Twitter though, which I kind of like.
So okay. Mastodon looks like Discord.
Yeah. And I don't know how I feel about that.
And they have different servers, but you can follow anybody on any server because your main feed is just the people that you follow. It's very confusing. I'll be completely honest. When I set up my account, I felt like I was trying to make a MySpace for the very first time.
Yeah.
It felt that weird.
Yeah, it was random.
But Gunn, he posted something that we'll get onto later because it does kind of affect the Batman realm of things when it comes to the new DC universe.
Yeah.
But this is Gunn's quote from Monday. He says, opened up Twitter at the end of the long creative weekend to see many tweets to hashtag save Legends of Tomorrow and hashtag release the air cut and fan support for other DC projects over the years. The majority of these requests were enthusiastic and respectful. As the new and first ever CEOs of DC Studios, Peter and I think it's important that we acknowledge you, the fans, and let you know we hear you, your different desires for the pathways forward for DC. Although our ability to interact on Twitter has been lessened due to the workload of our new positions, we are listening and open to everything as we embark on the journey, and will continue to do so for the next few years. But all our initial focus is on the story going forward, hammering out the new DCU and telling the biggest stories ever told across multiple films, television shows, and animated projects. We invite all DC fandoms from across the multiverse and everyone else as well into the new universe. We can't wait to reveal more.
Yeah.
So what of course your initial thoughts were like, yeah, fuck you, Snyder cultists and all of this
Yeah,
shit.
100%.
But because I was seeing people, I'll be honest, I saw people who love Zack Snyder, who love Zack Snyder's Justice League, and were like, this is what we needed, clarification from the studio heads and all of this stuff, right? And then like a few seconds later, those same people were like, did you notice how he didn't say like a hard no, this will never happen?
Ugh.
And I'm just like, Jesus Christ, like just leave it alone.
Yeah, Snyder cultists, I have come to learn, are the same type of people that get put in the friend zone, but because the girl said, I think we should be friends for now, means that there's a chance. That's what Snyder
Yeah.
cultists are, And it's just because they used one word. Oh, they didn't technically say there's no chance. It's like, bro,
Yeah.
like it's like the fucking end of Dumb and Dumber. So you're saying there's a chance. You know what I mean? And it's just like, bro, it's very delusional. And it doesn't surprise me, man. Like I watched this is off topic from the podcast, but I watched this YouTuber, Moist Critical, who I really enjoy, and he covered like the most insane guy he's ever seen. And it was this guy who got caught stalking, but then said that the girls are into that. And the cops are like, well, not this one. He's like, nah, but like,
oh, that's right.
You saw that video?
Yeah.
He was crazy. And that makes me think like, there's a lot of people that are that delusional in the world. And I think it's not necessarily applied to, that guy could be somebody that's super delusional when it comes to superheroes, but also when it comes to like men or women. But that's what I think a lot of people are like, that when you keep going forever and you just won't let something go, Snyder cultists will exist until Snyder dies. And then they'll try to resurrect him somehow.
Dude, no, we were just talking about this in another chat that I was in. Because I think it was the same video that you're talking about. Somebody recently was like, hey, so like, are you going to DC anytime soon now that there's new studio heads or whatever?
It's like the Stephen Paul show or some shit.
Yeah. And I literally told this group, I said, man, like on Zack Snyder's deathbed, people are going to ask him, hey, when's the next Justice League movie? Hey, when are you directing the next DC movie?
Yeah.
Like, just leave him alone.
Be like, when you go to heaven, are you going to ask God to take you back and give you like the actual chance to freaking direct the Justice League? Like, you know what I mean? He's going to be like the new Dalai Lama. The Zack Snyder cultists are just going to, they're like, oh, there's a new Zack Snyder born. You know what I mean? Like, it's just so ridiculous, man. But
insane.
This is what I wanted. So I wanted clarification from the studio to be like, we're not doing this anymore. They did it once and it didn't amount to anything. We found out that they lied about HBO Max numbers. So if anybody's like, yeah, Snyderverse added 1 million bajillion viewers, HBO lied about that. So it's not real. And so like it genuinely did nothing for them. And they just lost money on the endeavor. And because I don't know if they made 30 or 40 million dollars from selling the DVD, I doubt that. I feel like that would have been headline news. But so I'm glad that, he has come out and he has said that we're not going to do this anymore, because it also gives us a clear direction that they are starting a new universe, or, maybe a soft reboot. I don't think they're going to clarify that, because they are using they're going to be using people from the Snyderverse. Like, it's just what's going to happen. But they're probably going to do the Suicide Squad treatment. You're just going to have the same people. You're just we're not going to reference it. And so I think that is exactly what's going to happen. And so I enjoy this, but even with this, man, we had this conversation. Me and Raphael had a big conversation on optics and things in Discord, because on Mastodon, somebody asked like 50 questions in a post.
Yeah. So when it comes to Mastodon, his very first post, James Gunn's very first post, was glad to be here, and he took a photo of Lobo.
Yeah.
And everybody freaked out. He's like, oh my God, we're going to see a Lobo movie. Blah, blah, blah. And then this goes into the whole thing with Jason Momoa.
We'll be talking about
Momoa
that
seems to be teasing some stuff too. But you're right. There was someone that ended up asking a shit ton of questions, and it was like one after the other. He didn't even wait for responses. He just kept answering or kept asking. And so Gunn says, oh shit, where did he go? He
He just says
said,
like every movie's under DC Studios,
well,
essentially.
he says, yes, all DC titles are under DC Studios because the person asked, hey, James, can you tell us what is going on with Batman and DC Studios? Who's going to be the Batman going forward in this interconnected DCU? What's going with the Reevesverse? Is that still going to be separate? Are the Batman projects under DC Studios? Batman is arguably the crown jewel of DC, and there are so many doubts right now. It'd be nice to clear them up. And so James Gunn said all DC studios are under, or all DC titles are under DC Studios. So the same individual, or no, a different individual commented below that and said, the Batman, the Penguin, the Joker coming out in 2024 won't be produced by Peter or you, question mark. WB Pictures, Michael DeLuca and Pam Abney, aren't they going to produce these because they're outside of the DCU? Gunn clarified and said, no, all DC titles are under me and Peter and DC Studios.
Yeah. Yeah, so this kind of sparked I'm not gonna go into the whole conversation me and Raphael had, because it was two different perspectives. Like Raphael, I found out recently in this conversation, works in social media. So he didn't agree with the way Gunn went about talking about this. He said he shouldn't, essentially said he probably should have stayed silent because he's not going to be able to answer these questions. He just didn't like the way he was going about it. I come from it from the creator standpoint because I've had to deal with this before. And I know for a fact that if you answer one question, people are never going to stop. People are just going to want more and more and more and more. And that's why you have to answer these broad things and leave stuff open to interpretation every once in a while. You know what I mean? All films are under DC Studios. From me, the way I interpret that, James Gunn's a part of all of them because he's the head of DC Studios. You know what I mean? That's how I read it. Raphael preferred the second clarification, which he said that was a little better, but he still doesn't think that he should agree with it, if I'm remembering the statements correctly. And then that just went into a big conversation that we were having about a bunch of other things. So it always comes down to how things are perceived in the end. But I think anybody would know that he's not going to say a bunch of stuff, right? But people were going to come at him like crazy. I like that he has a social media presence. I also am thinking logically that he's not going to tell us everything, and I don't want him to.
Yeah, no, I don't believe he's just going to say, hey guys, this is a spoiler zone and I get to say whatever I want because I'm the head of DC Studios. No, he's going to be smart about it. He knows the business and he's very secretive about his own projects in the MCU. So why would he then just decide, hey, I'm not going to be secretive anymore because it's my playhouse? No.
Yeah.
I think he's very smart with how he markets his movies and how he does his social media presence. So I am really looking forward to his interaction because I said it the last 3 weeks that we've talked about this, last 2 weeks. His social media presence is something that other studios don't have.
Yes.
It's something that people may even pick up on. Now, again, we just spoke about how Twitter is kind of a shit show right now.
Yeah.
But I still think he can work around it. He used to be really big on Instagram for a while. And we clearly see him just easing into Mastodon fairly easy and still getting a lot of reblogs and all of this other stuff there. So I think he'll do just fine.
Yeah.
And as far as Raphael's comment about getting somebody to tweet for him, I think we would immediately notice a difference.
Yes.
In the tone of his statements and everything else. And I think it's the charm that works best for Gunn when he tweets. So I would not like somebody and that was something new also. I can't remember their names, but I think last week there was an announcement that both Peter and James are getting an assistant each. And so there's two basically individuals right below Peter and Gunn and they're just going to be their assistants. So they
Yeah.
are going to help them possibly with social media stuff and everything else. But I think it's going to be Gunn's words that they're going to be
Yeah.
using.
Just to clarify, I don't know if Raphael exactly said that he wanted somebody. I don't remember the whole conversation, but I don't know if that's something you read, if you were skimming through that. But I just want to clarify that. I don't want to put words in Raphael's mouth. But I think,
let me actually look at it.
yeah, I think mainly he was saying that he should have just stayed silent. Or he should have went in a different direction, I think, because he says he works in social media, so he does the PR stuff or whatever. Personally, I do think that DC needs a James Gunn, because the universe has been so chaotic and so ridiculous for so long that they need somebody that'll clear up stuff that is as simple as saying all films are under DC Studios. You know what I mean? Because for so long, this podcast proves it, we've had to interpret the littlest things. You know what I mean? Like, it was just a few weeks ago that we were like, dude, The Rock might have a lot of power in this universe. Like, you know what I mean? And James Gunn coming in here essentially saying, like, that's not going to happen. You know what I mean? Well, He didn't say that it was about The Rock specifically, but he's saying that, like, hey, these campaigns that you're doing, they don't mean shit to us. Hey, all these things you want, like, we'll take them into consideration, but we're trying to build our own universe. He said they're trying to build the largest universe or largest event or whatever his exact words were. But, like, that gets me excited. Okay, he has a vision.
Well, I was going to ask you about that because I was very, very active on Twitter the day that this tweet went out because I did not work on Monday. And I wanted to hear people's thoughts on, of course, the statement as a whole, but the substance within those tweets. And like you said, he states he wants to make the best, longest story of the DC universe, or whatever the exact quote was. And one of the comments that I saw on this from a mutual friend was saying, "Oh, great! It looks like we're about to have a homework problem in the future." And what he meant, a homework problem, as far as like the MCU, everything is kind of sort of connected. So if you miss one thing, you're going to be lost on the next thing.
Yeah.
Do you think that James Gunn and DC will go about it in that way and like saying, hey, everything is connected?
No, I don't think it's going to be as crazy as Marvel, but I think it'll be something along the lines of how Black Adam just did something and how Peacemaker did something, right? Like, there's just an Easter egg at the end.
Yeah.
I don't think it's necessarily going to be like, you have to watch every fucking thing to understand. You know what I mean? And it might turn into that. I'm not going to lie. That's what the MCU started out with, just Easter eggs, right? So I think there are going to be some things that are attached more than others, but that's okay for now because we don't have a concrete floor right now. We've been on a waterbed this whole time waiting for it to pop. So I'm just like, everything right now is a positive for me, you know? And even we had that one question from that person on Mastodon that was asking all of this stuff to freaking James Gunn about like, oh, are we going to have, you're going to give us a slate of when all the new movies are going to come out and all this stuff? And he was like, dude, we just got here. Like, let us catch our breath.
Yeah, like basically chill the fuck out, dude.
Yeah. And that's exactly what I was saying, where you don't answer all these questions because like, if James Gunn were to say like, oh yeah, we're already planning out the slate, that's going to lead to a million people guessing what movies are coming out. Because they're going to automatically go back to the Halloween post. Oh, he posted a Deadman photo, so that means Justice League Dark, right? So Justice League Dark is going to be one of the movies. He posted Lobo, so Lobo's got to be in this first phase. And like everybody's just going to go crazy with that. And then, of course, all of the we got you covered and everything are going to need to get their clicks. So they're going to start
titles
saying
and everything else. Yeah.
And so like, you don't want to do that. So I think him saying like, yo, chill the fuck out and killing the save whatever show campaigns, I think is good. It's what we need because now we know that, all right, I think I would prefer him to still kill rumors though. I would love for him to kill rumors. I saw some random ass place that's trying to get clicks on Twitter today say like rumored Zack Snyder coming back in 2024. And I'm like, oh my God, I wish he would just take those and be like, no, you know what I mean?
Yeah, there's been a lot of like scooper drama around the Snyder cultists recently, I unfortunately have seen a lot of it.
I've blocked all those words, so I don't see a lot of it anymore.
Well, I have blocked most of those words.
Yeah.
And the reason why I'm seeing it is the scoopers that I do follow, the people that I want to stay informed so that way we can have some conversations on this podcast,
Yeah.
is they take screenshots and then they argue against them. So even though I have blocked and muted these words,
Yeah.
I still see them because of them.
I see it because of the trending page.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh, damn it. Yeah.
And there has been a huge like thing with how like, oh, well, now Henry is a snake because he is working with WB and not with Zack Snyder. And even though we would really love for Zack Snyder to work with WB in order to make the rest of the Justice League movies, it's just like they're very contradicting to like themselves, and it's super annoying.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. It doesn't matter who Zack Snyder cast. It's only if Zack Snyder's involved, that's all they care about. Yeah. Because like they have everybody still, except for Ray. Ray ain't coming back. Ray, you fucked yourself. Like that sucks. I get it. I hope your mission keeps going, but
it's gonna be interesting because that whole debacle over like I want an apology and everything else, like Gunn had an interaction with them.
Yeah.
And Gunn ended up deleting his first post to Ray. And then Ray told social media that Gunn apologized to him. So like
Didn't he throw him under the bus a little bit though? I thought he went after Gunn because like I was like, nah, I don't like this look.
I think he did. I think he did, but then he stated that there was an apology and things were smoothed out. So the throwing under the bus came first, and then the apology came later.
Yeah. No, but I thought Ray threw him under the bus.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like there was a
apology?
Yes, because there was a back and forth, and I guess Gunn, in Ray's words, Gunn kind of just spat off something without knowing 100% of the story. And then Ray said, oh, but off of social media, he did apologize to me.
I think I would have preferred Ray to say something as well, though, because he threw Gunn. I remember reading a message that I didn't like the way he started talking shit about Gunn.
Yeah.
He said something I didn't like, and I was like, bro, you need to stop. Like,
well, he was going crazy for like that whole freaking like back end of 2020.
Yeah. I think everybody was. It was COVID. So I'm not going to hold that against him, but I just don't see him coming back. Like he just caused too much drama, in my opinion. Yeah. And I think that's an easy recast, but you don't even need Cyborg.
And that's what I think this is a good segue into the talks of possible relaunch, reboot, soft reboot, and everything else. When it comes to this Lobo post and getting all of this weird cryptic videos from Jason Momoa, because there was a video on Instagram that he said he got a phone call. He can't talk much about it, but it's like the job of his dreams or something like that. He said a dream job or something, dream whatever. And people started to flip out. They're like, oh, it's DC related. It's going to be amazing. Zach is coming back, blah, blah, all this different shit. And then we heard from a mutual that isn't a scooper, but does have some inside information just because of the connections that they have. And they're like, oh, it's not DC related. I'm like, okay, that's weird. But then there's another video from him, making comments about like Gunn and him creating this new DC universe and everything else. And there's a lot of cool things coming in the future. And with this idea that Gunn posting this Lobo thing, we had the conversation on Discord. Can he play both Aquaman and Lobo at the same time?
Well, I think you're forgetting the video where he was being interviewed. Yes. And somebody brought up the Lobo thing and he was like, oh.
Brandon from comicbook.com.
Yeah. He was saying, Moa made it known because the guy essentially said, he was like, is there any connection between your Instagram video about talking about DCU and his post? And he was like, I don't know. I mean, I can just say that I own every comic of Lobo and, kind of whatever. And so he kind of really hinted that he's possibly involved.
And it's really weird because there was another video where he referenced the Maestro
Mm-hmm.
that he is going to be working with, and everybody's like, "Oh, that's Zack Snyder. That's Zack Snyder." And in an interview, same interview with Brandon, he asked, "This Maestro that you're talking about, was that Zack Snyder?" And Jason said, "No, no, 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 no.
Yeah.
It's more than DC stuff. You got to look deeper." The last time he had this kind of post, it was about him being in the Dune movie. So a
Mm,
lot of people are starting to think maybe it isn't DC related, and there's something out there that is another franchise that he's really been wanting to be a part of, and he's finally getting to be a part of it.
mm-hmm.
But I don't know. This brings up the conversation because there was immediately after our conversation on Discord, I went onto
Yeah.
Twitter, and the first post that I saw was, if he is cast as Lobo, we need to be ready for a soft reboot recast of a more comic book accurate Aquaman for Momoa to be Lobo. And that kind of rubbed me the wrong way, even though
Yeah.
I was kind of in the same boat when we were
Uh-huh.
having our discussion
Yeah.
in Discord, just
It's
because
how
I'm
fast
like,
your emotions can change people.
I know, I was just like,
Yeah.
I don't want them to, I don't want them to share a scene,
Yeah.
uh, Lobo and Aquaman, because the only scene that they could share, in my opinion, is like Justice League related, and
Mm-hmm.
there's already going to be a lot of people in a Justice League movie.
Yeah.
And now you're having one individual play two people, and now they both have to be on the same scene together. It's going to be a little hectic. But for me, and this idea, it started making me think about all the other characters that they might recast or reboot or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
We still have not heard a damn thing with Ben Affleck after all
Yeah.
the debacle of like, oh, is he surviving the Flash? Is he not surviving the Flash? Oh, we heard he survived the Flash, but Keaton is still there. He's also been a part of Aquaman, which is coming after the Flash. So there's a lot of confusion,
Mm-hmm.
but nothing solidified as far as Henry Cavill saying, "Hey, I'm coming back as Superman full time now."
Yeah.
Like we still haven't gotten that from somebody like a Ben Affleck.
So first of all, that I said that earlier when we first talked about this James Gunn news. That is my biggest thing James Gunn needs to take care of, is
Yeah.
solidifying Batman, which you can see that from the comments that everybody was bombarding him with on Mastodon. That also seems like people's biggest thing is who is going to be Batman, because I think there's a big consensus of people that don't want Pattinson part of the DCU story, right? It's just too different.
Yeah.
It's just too different. So we need another Batman. And so is that going to be Affleck? And I think if it is Affleck, everybody's cool with that. I think this is something that, I think things are a lot different when you talk to peers. So James Gunn talking to Affleck, they can work out a deal because it's like, hey man, I know you're a director. I work here. I have pull at WB now. Is there a project you want to work on that we can make happen for you to stay on as Batman? Does that need to be your Batman movie? Is that what you wanted? Do you want to direct that and star in it? I was like, we can make it happen. You know what I mean? That is the first thing I would do, because I can't explain this, but like when you talk to another peer in the same industry, it's different than talking to somebody who wants to be in the industry, and it's different to talking to somebody who's a fan of the industry, right? Like
Yeah.
it's just very different. And so I'm hoping Gunn and Affleck can work something out, because then nothing really changes from the Snyderverse people, right? Like nothing really changes.
Yeah.
We have all the core people that can keep going on in this universe. I also feel like James Gunn is somebody that would, to fix the Flash problem with Keaton, if they need to film another scene or they just kind of leave it out, he would probably be the one person to finally give us the Keaton Batman Beyond movie. You know what I mean? Because he'll be like, I've seen the internet talk about this. That's a good fucking idea. What if he got homeboy that's supposed to be Nightwing to be Terry McGinnis? And it's just them reuniting for another movie. Because they worked well in that Assassin movie.
Yeah.
So that could be, he could be Terry McGinnis if he's not Nightwing. That'd be kind of cool. And then, but to go to the Jason Momoa thing, first of all, the comment of a more comic book accurate Aquaman, obviously people don't read comics anymore because they've made him look like Jason Momoa, just he's still white. like
white
that.
and blonde hair. Yeah.
Yeah. So he still looks like Momoa. They gave him the long hair because of Momoa. Like
Yeah.
in New 52, he was short hair, blonde hair Aquaman.
Yeah.
And so like he's had the long hair for a really long time now. So the comic book accurate thing, I don't understand that. Unless it's just one of those people that's like, comic book accurate is a white person. I'm like, dude, that's 95% of comics though. So like, I don't know. That comment I think is stupid. But I was thinking about this because I was talking about this on stream because somebody asked me about either the DCU or asked me about Lobo or some shit like that. And I was all like, I don't know how, like, we were talking about who could play Lobo, right? And I was like, I just don't think certain people can pull off Lobo because Lobo has that, like, massive body look, right? Like, he looks like The Rock, but taller, maybe. And I'm just like, how are you going to pull that off? And I'm like, Momoa's tall and I think can put on a lot more muscle if he needs to pull it off. And I referenced the Lobo in Krypton because they did him in Krypton. And I was like, this Lobo looks kind of weak. Like the aesthetic was okay, but he looks small compared to like comic accurate Lobo. So you know what I think they could do if Momoa was going to play Aquaman and Lobo to make it look different? They can make him CGI.
They could, but
because he could be bigger and just have the Momoa personality.
I will say this though, one thing that DC and WB has been really big about is their makeup department. Like being able to like give life to like alien and like just supernatural looking individuals. I would kind of be a little disappointed if he was CGI, but I think I could still deal with it if he ended up being CGI.
I mean, look at how good Shark was though. You know, in Suicide Squad. Like he looked really good.
Yeah.
You know, he's not like that you know, that deleted scene of the Hulk trying to save the tower that was falling over. You know, it wasn't that bad. So like I think it could be done. Now I just don't think you can pull off a realistic looking Lobo without like enhancements. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like he would need a bodysuit or something. Like, if they want to do full prosthetics on him, like his whole body to make him look even hulkier, I'd be down. I take prosthetics over everything because it looks better, practical effects. But I just don't know if painting Jason Momoa how he looks now with white skin and then the paint on his face is gonna look that great. You know what I mean? So
that's true. That's true.
Because the other guy is pretty built in Krypton. He looked like he had some muscle on him, but he just didn't give me Lobo vibes. It just looked like a guy that was going to a heavy metal concert. You know what I mean? And like Lobo is like kind of modeled after Kiss, right? Like their face paint and shit. So I don't know. I think you might need to do CGI. And I think if you did do CGI, it doesn't matter that he plays Aquaman, you know? Because he'll look so different with like the CGI body. You won't really need to.
And then also, I was thinking about it. We always like you gave some examples in Discord for what some actors or some actresses are doing in the MCU.
Yeah.
But we totally forgot the wizard Shazam is two different characters in the DC universe as well.
Yeah.
He plays.
He died too, though, didn't he?
Yes, he I think his character did die in Aquaman because he played one of the aquatic like.
It was like the seahorse people or something like that. Yeah. I've been watching scenes from that lately. I forgot how good that movie looked.
I've been wanting to rewatch Aquaman.
Yeah, some of the fight scenes in that movie are really good. And I was just like, damn. Makes sense why I made $1 billion. So
and then there was another one that I couldn't remember. Oh shit. But either way, like I kind of ate my words in just the last 24 hours. I've kind of eaten my words on how it could work. Because I completely understand, because it was my stance before on how it couldn't work.
Yeah.
Because the one thing that you brought up is, and I brought up as well, is if they have a scene together, if Aquaman and Jason Momoa's hopeful Lobo have a scene together, I think they would unfortunately try to make it a little jokey.
Yeah.
And it would work on Lobo's side for sure. And I guess it would kind of work with this reiteration of Aquaman in the DC universe. But for me as a viewer, like, I'm already anticipating it. I don't want it, you know?
Yeah, that's why I say I don't. Somebody brought it up. I don't know if it was in the Discord or if it was a question. I think it was a question on Batman News Weekly recently, where it's like, what would they do if we had all the Batman? And I'm like, oh, they would have a scene where they're like, I'm Batman. I'm Batman. I don't want that. I don't ever want to see that on the screen. Like, if you want to do that in cartoons, that's totally fine. Like, it's a cartoon. Like, I can let anything pass in a cartoon. But fucking on lives, because like, things you do in, like, it's why anime doesn't translate really well to live action, right? Is because the shit that happens in anime, you're just like, oh, that's silly and crazy. Like, that's awesome. But then you do it in live action, I'm like, oh, that's kind of cringe. Like, that doesn't really work with real people. So, yeah, there's some things I don't want to see happen. But I think Momoa playing both could work. My thing was, I just don't, if he leaves, I think he's perfect for Aquaman, especially how he handles himself in the real world. He's all about like conservation and the you know, fucking protecting things, and like he doesn't want you to buy plastic bottles of water anymore. Like, he seems like he's doing like really good stuff outside. So I feel like he's a perfect cast for Aquaman. But at the same time, I don't want to see Lobo fucking talking about saving the world, because he doesn't give a shit. You know what I mean? Like, he's a bounty hunter. He shouldn't give a shit about whatever. Now, granted, I'm pretty sure Lobo has done a lot of heroic things as well. I haven't read too much about him, but for the most part, he's usually just a guy that goes around bounty hunting, which I think is really what he needs to be. You know, he needs to be a badass. So yeah, the Momoa thing I think is pretty interesting, along with everything that's kind of going on. I think we've kind of covered everything with that, right? When it comes to James Gunn. So let's see. I want to go on to another conversation that I had, and then we're going to go into questions. And there is something in questions that is going to spark another topic that we'll be talking about. But I had somebody reach out to me on Twitter recently, and let me see if I can find the exact quotes. But essentially, they were telling me, they were like, yo, Juice, why do you like Batcat so much? And I'm trying to find this because this person, I should say, their name is Batfan, and that's not their tag on Twitter, but that's their little nickname on thing. But they have a failsafe as their photo. So a fan of Zdarsky's run. Yeah, so I want to put that out there. So this is what they say. Hey, Juice, I've seen your YouTube podcast, and I can't seem to understand why you like Catwoman so much, especially these days. I'm really sick of her and Bruce's Batcat relationship and absolutely done with it, to be honest. And so this sparks a big conversation. I respond, if you don't like it, totally fine. It's not for everyone, but I'm tired of dark, alone Batman. Those stories have been told for 80 plus years. Batcat is something that hasn't really been explored, and neither has Batman being married. Now, I do want to clarify, because after these kind of conversations, they did respond to that, though. Yeah, I don't want Dark Alone Batman either. I'd like the fandom to explore others like Mio, Madeline, Wallace, Talia, Zatanna, and so much more. So this person is a fan of Batman essentially being single and having relationships with a bunch of other characters. Now, he also started responding to he had a lot of stuff about failsafe as well, and why he thinks it's a good story or whatever. We're not going to dive into that. I want to talk about the Batcat stuff. And so after that kind of conversation, I responded with, do you take this mentality of Batman and Catwoman not working and apply it to any other character? I was all, do you think Superman and Lois should be separated? Do you think Oliver and Black Canary should be separated? Barbara and Dick Grayson? Like, all of these other iconic couples, do you think that they should be separated? This person was like, hell no. Like, Superman and Lois are solidified. Like, they have a great relationship that doesn't need to be messed up because it's perfect. And I'm just like, why is Batman the only guy that needs to be single? And that's kind of what I was coming at. So I want to ask you, Clay, one, what are your ideas on this thought process that a lot of people want Batman not to be married or in a relationship? And two, is Batcat overused in the comic books?
I would say no, because if you, just like you said, if you look at a Green Arrow comic, if you look at a Superman comic, if you look at a Nightwing comic with Batgirl, or a Nightwing comic with Starfire, Teen Titans with Garfield and Tara, sometimes Garfield or Beast Boy, should I say, and Raven, depending on the show and whatnot. Also, relationships are just a part of this universe, just like our own.
Yeah.
And there has never been a long form story of saying, hey, we're going to focus on this relationship.
Yeah.
Like Tom King did for was supposed to be over 50 issues, but then he had to veer and then kind of, steady himself back in there after issue 50.
It still played a part. I mean, she's not in the first arc because she's not in I Am Gotham, but she shows up in that second or third Bane arc because there was that weird like kaiju story that DC forced on people.
Yeah, the Monster Men.
Yeah, and I don't even think King wrote those. I think it was somebody else. And then King brings Catwoman into the Bane when the Bane story starts, and she was there for there on out. She was pretty much in every story. She was even in Nightmares. I just don't think she was in that arc right after the wedding. So she's been there for
Cold
majority
Days
of the run. Yeah,
she wasn't a part of Cold Days, and I just think that it's very silly to think that she shouldn't be a part of Batman as far as the title goes, as far as the story goes. Like, it doesn't make any sense to say, oh, she's over, the relationship is overused.
Yeah.
Because like you have already said, there has been plenty of other relationships that have gone on for almost the same amount of time.
Yeah.
Technically, Superman is the only one because
Lois is in Day One, if I'm not mistaken, right? She's in Action Comics #1. Selena Kyle is in the first issue of Batman.
Yeah.
So she's been there since day one. I made this comment. I think I made it in the Discord, or maybe I actually think I made it on Twitter. I think a lot of people don't want Batman to be single is because when they read Batman, they pretend that they are Batman. And I think they want to be able to hook up with a bunch of people. I feel like people get lost into that. And I'm like, you know what? I pretend to be Batman. Like, that would be cool to be Batman. It'd be cool to do that. But like at the end of the day, like story wise, I think Catwoman is the main person for Batman. Like, it's just how it is. I don't mind if you want to do an Elseworld story and he hooks up with Zatanna. Zatanna, I wouldn't mind that kind of story arc because I like Zatanna. I think she's awesome. I like that there is a possible relationship between them when they were younger. Like, I think that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
When he was training and stuff like that. But I think at the end all be all, you have Superman Lois, you have Barbara, I think Dick Grayson, there is a Starfire versus Barbara kind of fandom going on there, but I always think it's Barbara Gordon. And then, Oliver's Black Canary and all that kind of jazz. But when it comes to Batman, it's Batman and Catwoman. Like they just work together. Now, one thing I wanted to clarify is I said, and I think this is a big misconception in DC, because I don't know if Jim Lee said this or what it was, but everybody always says that Hush is the first time Batman and Catwoman kissed. And that is just factually incorrect. So I don't know if it's like the first time they kissed and maybe admitted that they had feelings for each other. I don't know if that's the case, but there was stuff like, I think in 89 or something like that, where they actually kiss when she's like wearing the actual like gray cat suit, I think. Yeah. So, and then they also kissed like in the early like 30s or 40s when she was like, he was trying to get her to not be Catwoman anymore. So they were going to get like married or some shit. Like it was some weird ass story like that.
Yeah.
So like,
I mean, it's the golden age.
Yeah. Comics, yeah. So it's happened. And it's weird because like, I actually said this to Batfan. So Batfan, if you're listening to this, I was like, they haven't done this since, it just happened in Hush, which Hush just happened 20 years ago. But I was like, you know what? I should fact check that. And I went back and I checked it and I was like, oh, actually, I'm wrong here. And I'm like, this seems to be a big misconception. And there's even articles like, is Hush the first kiss of Batman? You know, like people have dove into this. And so, but my thing is, I started downloading a bunch of books to see like, where have they been? Catwoman, yes, has been probably throughout majority of Batman's life the most used like love interest, right? But they've never had like a real relationship. Like it's just like, you catch me, we bang, you let me go. Like that's kind of what has happened with them, but they've never been like a serious contender for a relationship. That's what Tom King did, right? He brought that in there. He was like, they're gonna get married. Something happens, they don't, and then you get Cat later on, and they finally get married, right? And so like, I just find it so weird that again, everybody has different standards for Batman. When it comes to the movies, right? Everybody needs Batman to be realistic. Like, and that's also when people argue about the no kill rule, right? They're like, if you're just a human, there's no way you cannot like not kill somebody. Like you just kill people. And I'm just like, you're sus if people just kill people. Like, you know what I mean? And so like that's kind of, I don't understand why there is this weird aura around Batman.
I will say this to kind of give them like benefit of the doubt. There was the conversation we had, I think either last week or a couple weeks ago, as far as like, if you were a vigilante, you couldn't be Batman.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I guess that's kind of the way they're taking it, but they're choosing not to be Batman, so they can't say Batman would do the same thing that they would do.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't understand it. So there was that weird conversation. I will say I kind of dropped off Batfan if you're listening to this, because Batfan did say that he thought Talia deserved another chance. And I'm like,
the chick that raped him?
Yeah. And he was like, nah, she deserves another chance. I was like, here's the thing. Catwoman has done bad things. Batman has caught her. Batman has taken the item back and gave it back sometimes, right? Sometimes she's got away because, she can play with Batman's heartstrings. But Catwoman has ultimately done good things. Like she has stolen to do good or whatever. Granted, she does steal for her own personal good as well. But usually, Catwoman doesn't do things of mass destruction. Talia.
Mass destruction, or I will say this, Catwoman doesn't go out to say, hey, I'm going to go murder somebody tonight.
Yes. Now, depending on what you read, I believe Catwoman has killed before. So to make that clear. But I think they've kind of retconned that. Or she also, when she's involved with Batman, she's kind of taking that role like, I won't do this anymore.
Yeah.
I'll say that. Because Tom King had her killed. So, and I think that's kind of, I think that's a compelling thing for her character, personally. But when it comes to Talia, she has tried to take over the world with her father, which is something completely against Batman. Like, Batman would not be cool with Talia. Like, even if she is the mother of his child that he didn't ask for. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, like, it's so weird that some people would want Talia to work again. If you want to make an argument for Zatanna, which is what I even told Batfan, I'd be down with the Zatanna storyline. I don't want it in main continuity, but if you want to give me a Black Label or just, have one of those, I think more writers need to do this. Tell a story in the past. Like, why is it so hard to like tell a story of like early years of Batman? Granted, Zdarsky tried to do before Batman, and that didn't go so well, in my opinion. But like, I think people can tell, like, if you want these relationships, like the people that are like Wonder Woman shippers, right? Like they're like,
Yeah.
Bruce and Diana should happen. Why hasn't somebody wrote that story? You know what I mean? Doesn't need to be. It could be an Elseworld, like Gotham by Gaslight, but he dates Wonder Woman there. You know what I mean? Or like, what if Batman existed during World War II and he helps out Wonder Woman? Like, give me a story like that. And you can have them hook up or do whatever. Because I would like to see that story too. I would read that story as well. As much as I'm a Batcat lover, I would read that story if it's an Elseworld. Unless you make it hella compelling. And, Tom King was like, he hinted at a 3-way there. And I was just like, whoa, Tom King, whoa. Let me read it. But like, I just don't, I don't know. It's so weird, covering Batman to see how audiences view him so like in a different light than every other superhero in the universe. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So pretty crazy. I do think it kind of goes down to like some people just want to be Batman secretly. So they're like, oh, I wouldn't want to be married if I'm Batman. I'm a billionaire with all this money. You know what I mean? I'm just like, bruh. I was like,
You can't tie me down.
Yeah, can't tie me down. I'm the playboy. It's like, dude, watch the animated series. He's not really that much of a playboy. It's just fake. Like,
yeah,
you know what I mean? But anyway, so that's a topic I want to talk about. But let's go to move on to actually let's do Discord first for the first time instead of YouTube, because this is actually comes from Bats in Discord, wants to talk about George Lopez's comments about Blue Beetle recently.
Now, I sent this to you
Yes.
this week. And he seems very chill about this.
Yeah.
I don't know if he had, just had a couple beers or not. He was very, very chill in this interview, but he was just like, yeah, man, it's the Blue Beetle. Like, I play the uncle, and the
Yeah.
Blue Beetle, he's like this hero and all this
I'm
other
surprised
stuff.
he said uncle and not Theo.
Yeah.
I was very
yeah.
shocked by that. I was like, what?
And
like,
and
right.
he was like, yeah, the guy from Cobra Kai is gonna be the Blue Beetle, and he's like, and nobody knows this. Y'all are the first people to know all this. And I'm like, George, everything you have just said, I already knew. I'm sorry, it just was.
I feel like the podcast was like filmed a while back though.
It probably was, and then
know?
they just recently released the footage at least. This did come from a TikTok. But he made a very quick because at the very end he's like, this isn't Marvel, this is DC. I think it was a really big deal for me to take this job. And near the end of the interview, he just like makes this really quick comment of like, oh yeah, I think Batman's in our movie.
Yeah.
And you said that you highly doubt it.
Yes.
So why do you think that you doubt Batman being in Blue Beetle?
I just think this. Remember, this was George Lopez says it. It was scheduled to be an HBO Max series or HBO Max movie, and then I guess they liked it enough, and then they're gonna make it a movie. I just don't think that they were gonna overload Batman that much in all of these films, because remember, he was supposed to be in Batgirl already. That got axed. And who was it gonna be? Keaton's Batman again, trying to do this? I just feel like George Lopez does not strike me as somebody who knows what's going on when it comes to superheroes. And I just think maybe there was a reference or something. Maybe he had some dialogue that said Batman or something, because I doubt George Lopez was there every single day. You know what I mean? They probably, he's in there to do his scenes. He's doing all that kind of stuff, and then he's gone. So maybe there's a reference. Maybe, Blue Beetle mentions Batman. Maybe he has Batman posters on his wall. I don't really know. But I feel like it's going to be more of a Shazam thing than Batman actually showing up. And if he shows up, I'll eat my words, because that'll be awesome. I just don't think that they're going to, I like that they're doing cameos, but damn, bro. In every movie? Batman in every movie? And why would he be recruiting Blue Beetle? That's where I'm confused the most.
I took it as more of like, if this is, from what we have heard, the villain of this movie is, oh shoot, what is her name?
It's Ted Kord's sister.
It's Ted Kord's sister. So,
which is a new character, I think. I don't think that exists. Or am I wrong?
Correct.
Yeah.
I believe you're right. And in that sense, like, this could be brand new technology to the world as far as the Beetle goes.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, again, the way Batman's mentality is like, hey, it's better for him to be on our side than, be a bad guy.
Yeah.
So might as well recruit him as a hero. That's kind of my mentality if he's in there, because I don't think it'll be for anything big. Mm-hmm. I think it will be possibly like a newscast of like maybe like Batman's shadow taking out some guys talking about Gotham, or at the very end he's recruiting him for like the Teen Titans or something.
Yeah, I like a full-blown cameo. I wouldn't believe that that's there, but a newscast I could believe, because you could CGI that. You don't need Affleck there,
Exactly.
I mean, if it happens, that's cool. Maybe that was another one of those things that you're like, hey, we got Affleck on set. Let's have him film something else, when they were doing the Aquaman one. So it's possible. I'll say it's possible. I just don't think it's going to happen. And if I'm not mistaken, later on, after that post went live, the same account said that this is a reference to Batman and not a cameo. So they cleared it up later on. But I don't know how they would have got that news. I don't know if Lopez came out and said something after.
That's true. Yeah.
So I don't know where they would have been able to clarify that. So it could be just them saying something out of their ass. I mean, I don't really know how connected the Blue Beetle Twitter account is. You know what I mean? Or updates or whatever it was. So yeah, I don't know. I'm for cameos in any kind of movie, right? It seems like we're gonna have hardcore cameos in every movie going forward for the next 3 at least.
I think so. I think this is something that we had kind of heard last year or going into this year, and more so near like the summer of this year. There was a possibility of getting more cameos of the Trinity, Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman, kind of rebuilding a DC universe to move forward with a giant story. So if that's the case, then this lines up with that.
Yeah. And I think that's a smart thing to do, because I've heard a lot of people saying, thank God that James Gunn just has characters that are already established and we don't do origin stories. I don't think we need origin. Like, I think for the first time, we are in a society that understands superheroes existed before, they come from the comic books, right? I think everybody is now smart enough that knows these are comic book heroes. And also, I think you don't need to explain origins. Characters just need to be cool. So you can just have them established. And I think it's better that you don't tell their origin sometimes, because then it might force people to go buy comic books or at least read them.
Yeah.
And I think that's a positive. And so if you make a cool character like Idris Elba's Bloodsport, right? He had no fucking origin. They kind of talk about it. They've talked about what he's done in the past, but they didn't say like how he became Bloodsport. No, he was just fucking Bloodsport, and you bought it. He was awesome. And so I'm like, that's cool. We didn't hear about John Cena's origin. We learned about it in Peacemaker, which I think it was a good way to learn about it. And so, but he was established in Suicide Squad. And I like that they're doing a lot of this. Highly doubt we're going to get Supergirl's origin in fucking Flash. I doubt they're going to show her, going through a time portal or whatever the origin is now and ending up on Earth.
I think we will get a very shorthand version of it, though.
You think so?
I think it'll be more of like verbal exposition of just like, yeah, I'm from Krypton also. I survived off a small piece and now I'm here. Like nothing like a flashback or anything else. I think because people will wonder, okay, she's Supergirl, but is she like a different version of Clark as a woman, or is she a completely different character? Like, I think that can be something that people would genuinely think about. So I think there needs to be some exposition for it.
Yeah. Do you think she continues on in the universe after this movie?
That's what I'm waiting for.
Yeah. You're going to have those people being like, how are they related?
Yeah.
I'd be like, are you fucking serious?
They're
fucking aliens, bitch. Like, oh my God. You're not questioning how they have superpowers, how they fucking are aliens and look like humans. Like, no, how are they related? One's brown and one's white. That doesn't make any sense to me. You obviously have not hung out with enough Latinos, because there's like Clay's a lot lighter than I am.
I am. Yeah. I am so much lighter.
But he's fucking, if you knew his last name, fucking Latino as fuck. So like, damn. But yeah, so pretty crazy stuff. But it'll be interesting to see where they're going. I'm excited about what we're doing. But let's move on to viewer questions on the YouTubes. First of all, we have Vasan Bat Label is all his comments.
Yeah, because we were talking about how Black Label has really only been Batman stuff. So Bat Label
for sure.
Young says white eyes could work in live action. That'd be like Daredevil not having red eyes in the show.
That's just a helmet, though, right?
So no. So yes and no.
Okay.
Yes, he has the helmet. Oh, I guess so. Yeah, it is the helmet with like the lenses.
Yeah. Do
So
his eyes
that
ever
is
move in the mask?
no, because it's always
Yeah.
like a lens, like a shield, like
Yeah.
Spider-Man.
Yeah. So yeah, I read that comment and I was like, not the best thing. I showed these on Twitter, which was, it's freaking Spider-Man, not Daredevil, Deadpool, and Homeboy from Aquaman, Ocean Master. Ocean Masters looks so good. Like if you go back and watch that movie, it looks so good. So I highly recommend checking out Aquaman. If you guys haven't seen Aquaman in a while and you actually liked it, because I know there's probably some people out there that didn't like it, but if you haven't seen it in a long time, I highly suggest you go watch it again. We got Clay. If Joker got lucky and landed a fatal blow to Batman, would Joker finish the deed or perform CPR to keep him alive and the fun going? Interesting question. But I always feel like, because he definitely doesn't want Batman dead, but he also wants to be the one to kill Batman.
Yeah.
So it's like a catch-22 for him.
I think there would be a little bit of like mixed emotions from Joker.
Yeah.
He would be like, haha, I finally got you, blah, blah, like dancing around him and everything, and then being like, okay, time to get up.
Yeah.
Like, you're supposed to go home. I'm supposed to go home. We're supposed to do this whole song and dance again. And then like he's starting to like he would probably start to freak out.
Yeah.
And then that's when he would be like, shit. And then probably do CPR.
I could see him saving Batman. Because that's how much fun he has trying to destroy Batman. Because there have been stories written that when Batman disappears, Joker disappears. Like that has happened multiple times. Like they are yin and yang. They belong together. And so I could see him say, like, you could literally write it to the point where, like, you know how they do those panels where it shows like a character's eyes are closing and it's like Joker over Batman. And then it's like a black page and then you turn the page or whatever. And he's like hooked up to a bunch of hospital stuff. And Joker's like, the fun's not over yet. And he like saved his life or whatever. Like I could totally see that in a book. So interesting question. But I think Joker loves the craziness and wouldn't want him to die. So interesting stuff. We do have Vasan again. And I think this is a reference to Failsafe. Has the brain of Batman, not the heart? Or is he talking about Zur Ra? What do you think? I assume Failsafe?
I think you would be talking about Failsafe.
So also, like a lot of people, when I was also talking to the Bat person on Twitter, they were saying that Failsafe was Zur Ra and not Batman. How do you feel about that?
They're the same fucking person. I don't give a shit. I'm sorry. The whole mentality is that, yes, it's a different persona, but it's the same body. And Zur Ra is Batman that is more cold and calculated.
Yeah.
That's it. But it's still Batman.
I think a lot of people let the I'm gonna kill you take over, and that Zur Ra is a killer. But why would Batman make a subconscious that kills when his one rule is to not kill?
Exactly.
And so, like, I think a lot of people, I just don't, I said my piece last week. I just don't think the Failsafe character makes a lot of sense right now. Because one, if his main goal, if he's not going to kill Batman and his main goal is to stop Batman, Batman can just turn himself in. And then, like I said, he has shown that he won't kill people. Now, one point that I thought was interesting that I would at least consider is that they said that Zur Ra, his whole mentality is to finish the mission. And so Failsafe would be okay with destroying the city if it went towards his mission. What do you think about that?
Wait, say that one more time.
Okay, so Zur Ra, right? We see it in the comic book that he didn't really care about Robin. He was like, you're a soldier, you're a tool, and we hated that dialogue. And so he's saying that if Zur-En-Ra built Failsafe, it would be built in a way to only finish the mission. And so he's willing to destroy Gotham and take over Gotham to get Batman to get there to finish the mission, essentially.
But that's what I mean, though.
Mm-hmm.
Zur-En-Ra is still what's the phrase? In all circumstances,
Mm-hmm.
is still a piece of Batman.
Yeah.
And so I think Zur-En-Ra still has those morals.
Yeah.
In place to where he wouldn't do anything to finish a mission like destroy Gotham.
Yeah. I think a discussion we should have eventually is Zur-En-Ra even a good character? You know what I mean? I like the concept of him having because like a lot of people are like, that's really Batman at that point. You know what I mean? But is the character of Zur-En-Ra really good? I think the outfit's really good.
I like the idea of him being a part of the multiverse. I don't like him being a part of like a different persona that's trapped inside Bruce's mind.
I don't have a problem with a backup Batman. I just don't like that the backup Batman is so different. You know what I mean? Like they make it, and why does he got to change a suit? Like that makes no sense. Like, oh, I can only be Zur-En-Ra if I'm in yellow and purple. Like that makes no sense. If I remember correctly, I haven't read the story in a while. I think he makes the suit like out of what he has, and that's why he becomes purple Batman. But I could be wrong. It's been a really long time since I wrote that story, but read that story. But yeah, I don't know. I think the discussion of if Zur-En-Ra is even a good character can be put up for discussion because I just don't see why. Because Batman can be pretty ruthless as Batman, and you're saying there's an even more ruthless Batman. We saw that in the Dark Multiverse; they kill. So, Anyways, we got the Ponderer over here saying yes, but we all know that Gotham's version of Joker, so they don't have to call him Joker for legal reasons, and we know that this version is Joker. This is a Gotham thing. The show.
Yeah.
Ponderer really loves Gotham. He is one of the people that has stayed over from my Gotham days and reminds me that Gotham is still a show. So there's that. Next one is from Nathan. Who would win in a fight? Bane with Venom versus Deathstroke, no guns. If Bane wins easy, then no Venom. If Deathstroke wins easy, no swords. See, he just kind of made it harder. I was going to say, well, does Deathstroke still have swords? Like, he still has swords. It's GG. But if you're talking about, so we're saying no Venom, just fighting. At the end of the day, Deathstroke has healing abilities.
Yeah.
So, and he has bested Batman before. I'm putting all my money on Deathstroke every time. But I think Bane is great. I think Bane is awesome. I just think Deathstroke's a better.
Fade, who has made some comments on this feed, he actually commented on Nathan's post and says Bane, and it's not even close.
Yeah, explain yourself, Fade. You got to explain yourself in this video comment section on why. And we'll read it on the next one if it's good. Because I want to know how you think Bane beats him. And say if you're thinking if it has Venom or whatever. Now, Bane did show in Tom King's run that he is a formidable opponent. But I just think Deathstroke, I mean, I've seen Deathstroke beat
for the
Batman
longevity of the fight, I think Deathstroke would take it.
Yes, I would agree with that. Fade does comment after that. In my comments last week, I meant Ed Brubaker, who was written a fair share of Batman, which in my opinion is very, very good. So this is when I was questioning what the hell he was talking about. I was just like, yeah. So that's what he was talking about. I actually downloaded the Ed Brubaker run. I will read it eventually. So I have a billion Ed Brubaker comics that I have not read. So one day. But
didn't you buy that Humble Bundle with Ed Brubaker?
That's why I say I have like 100. I have like everything Brubaker's ever wrote, which is insane. He also goes on to say, I had a thought I wanted to share. I listened that you talk about writers and that you'd like to be writing Batman ongoing. And I came to the realization that Mike Mignola would make a spectacular Batman run. If you have read any Hellboy / PBRD, you would know what I'm talking about. If it was announced, I would pee my pants. Do you know this writer? I don't know this writer.
So you actually retweeted his vote post.
Oh, okay.
For Hellboy?
The Hellboy? Yeah, that looked cool.
So if anybody, I will say this, Fide, if you are a Hellboy reader, good luck to you. The continuity of Hellboy is absolutely batshit crazy. Um, Having to read so many different books in so many different ways, it gets very, very complicated. Um, I almost wish that they would completely reboot the canon of Hellboy so that way I could legitimately just like start from issue 1. It'll never happen, but it's a fun story, and I will agree. Mike is a great artist and writer. So I would totally be cool with him touching up on more Batman because he has technically written Batman.
Mm.
Because there has been some crossovers with Batman and Hellboy.
Give him a one shot. I always think writers should get, sometimes you just need a one shot. John Carpenter, greatest one shot of all time. I'm never going to stop talking about that book. It's so good. Jason Todd, would you rather have Rocksteady Nightwing game with rogues like Raptor, Blockbuster, Shriek? I don't know that character. Shrike? I can't, whatever.
Let me look it up real quick.
Yeah, or WB Montreal Flash game with the rogues like Mirrormaster, Grodd, Godspeed. I'm picking Rocksteady over Montreal every day of the week. So, especially after what they just dropped with Gotham Knights. So, granted, Clay plays the game, so he might have a different opinion. But
this is Shrike.
Oh,
it was pre New 52 stuff. So.
Okay. Damn, deep cut.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Is New 52 technically a deep cut? I don't think it is. Maybe. Maybe for new viewers. I don't know. But that's what, a decade ago now?
Yeah. 10 years.
Anybody in the comments, what do you think a deep cut is? Does it have to be multiple decades, or is a decade good enough?
I think with how quickly comics are coming out, I think that a decade is a pretty good like deep cut for
comics. Because being a content creator, I hate when people say like, oh yeah, my video went viral, and I look and it's like 20,000 views. I'm like, bitch, that's not viral. I consider a minimum 1 million views to be viral.
Nowadays,
I don't even think millions are good enough, to be honest. I think viral is like 20 plus.
Yeah.
So, but that's a different topic. Your choice? I pick Rocksteady Nightwing game.
I would have to go Rocksteady. Yeah. I am really enjoying Gotham Knights with WB Montreal.
Mm-hmm.
But as much as I'm having fun with Gotham Knights, there's just way too many misses for me to say, hey, it was actually worth the $80 that I purchased.
Yeah.
You know?
What if the Flash went as fast as the bike in the game?
Throw it all away.
Yeah.
Throw it all away.
That would be that would suck, man.
It just sucks because that game, you'll drive that bike and then like you have the other stick to control the camera.
Yeah.
Every single time I move the camera just to get like a better look around me, it feels like the bike goes slower.
Ugh.
Somehow with just the movement of the camera.
Yeah, I feel like when I do that, if I'm riding a bike and I do that in GTA, I crash into something immediately. Like if I'm spinning around, it's poof, on my body, I go flying off. But yeah, anyways, we got Moncray. Would you rather have Super Babes from Harley Quinn Batman movie or Batburger from Tom King open up by your house? I feel like they both have their merits. I love this question. Do you know Super Babes? Have you seen that movie?
The one where she takes advantage of Nightwing?
Is that the same movie? Yeah. She's essentially, it's like Hooters, or me and Clay used to work near a place like this. It's called, I don't want to say what it was called, but we used to work by a place like this.
That's right.
It's the Latino version of Hooters. And it was very popular. And I don't know. I think I would rather go to a Super Babes than a Batburger. Because Batburger still is just like any generic restaurant, I feel like, with Batman themed, right? Like McDonald's could do Batburger like today if they wanted to, you know? Super Babes, I feel like it's just more interesting. Like it's just like it's like going to a costume restaurant.
Yeah.
And I think that would just be cooler, you know?
Yeah, I think I would probably choose Super Babes over
Yeah.
What was the other one?
Bat Burger.
Bat
Because
Burger?
Super Babes is also like a Buffalo Wild Wings or something, right? Like you go there, you could watch the game if you wanted to do that or whatever. And yeah, Super Babes just seems like a better fit.
So I don't know if this is anywhere else, but in the city that we're in, there is something called the Rainforest Cafe.
Yeah, that's
And
all around the world. If you want
yeah,
to see a good video, there just type in I went to every rainforest cafe, and there's a guy that traveled to every rainforest cafe in America. It's
wow.
interesting. It's a good video too, actually.
Well, so the big thing about that restaurant is that
Mhm.
the waiters and waitresses dress up as random, like famous people,
Are
right?
you thinking of the right place? I think you're thinking of Magic Time Machine.
Oh, that's right. Magic Time
Yeah.
Machine is what it is.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
sorry,
I was gonna
sorry,
say.
sorry, sorry,
I was like,
sorry. Not Rainforest
yeah,
Cafe. Magic Time Machine. Magic
yeah,
Time Machine is a place that we have here in the city that we're in,
yeah. Is
and
it still open?
I think so.
It survived COVID. Damn.
I'd be really surprised if it did survive COVID.
Yeah.
I need to look this up.
But yeah, it's a cool place. You want to know something that I have not a bad memory there, but I have an awkward memory there. Me and my ex-girlfriend went there one time, and they take photos of you. Like they have a photographer that's in there, and they take a photo of you and whatever. We didn't want to buy the photo. We took the photo. We didn't want to buy it. My ex-girlfriend got caught trying to take a photo of the photo when the photographer came around, because they give you a mini print of it so like you can buy it.
Yeah.
And my girlfriend was like, oh, I'm just gonna take a photo of it. And the photographer came back around and she was like, and we just bought it out of shame. We were like, we'll buy it. It's still one of my most awkward moments, man. I was like,
Dude,
you
it
made me
survived.
feel awkward. It did? Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, there is a place that dresses up as famous people.
And that's
like,
kind of what this would be.
yeah. I mean, yeah, it's like Johnny Depp, not Johnny Depp, but like Jack Sparrow, Austin Powers. Like it's just a bunch of different.
I
people.
think I saw a dude dress up as Ace Ventura one time.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Like it was. I don't know if the food holds up. Like I went when I was young, so like
I'll tell you this: I've actually never been, but my family has been.
really,
Yeah,
really, yeah. No, I don't know if the food is good or if you're just paying for the atmosphere, but it is very far from where we live. So, it's a good drive, but it was a cool place. It was a cool place.
yeah.
Good memories besides that one awkward one. Alexis, in the next 5 to 10 years, which Joker do you believe has the most potential to evolve and become the most memorable and beloved like Ledger was in the 2000s? Leto, Phoenix, or Kohan, or whatever his name is? Nothing's beating Phoenix.
Yeah, I was gonna say Phoenix 100%.
Yeah.
Phoenix Joker came out in October, and then like that Halloween, there was just Phoenix Jokers everywhere.
Yeah.
Like already.
He made everybody forget about every other Joker besides Ledger. Nobody's ever going to finish about Ledger. And I've said this before. Ledger's mystique was helped because he died. Like, I also think it's the reason why he probably got the Oscar too. I think his performance was Oscar worthy. I think it was great. But I think that him dying just added to like, we need to vote for him,
Yeah.
And some people might hate that, but I think it's the truth. But Ledger was fantastic. And I just don't think James Gunn doesn't like Leto. So Leto ain't getting another shot.
Well, I was going to say the very next question is from Eduardo De La Cruz.
Oh, yeah.
How do you think James Gunn can handle Jared Leto's Joker going forward? I know he's good at making us care about characters. Personally, I'd like to see him in the next Suicide Squad or surprises with a series like Death of the Family. What do you think?
Yeah, it's not going to happen. They just don't like each other.
I don't think it's going to happen. And quite honestly, I think after Morbius, I think Leto has just become a meme. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I know he like has won Oscars before and everything else. Or
he's a great actor.
He has been a really good actor in many things. I think recently he did the Lady Gaga movie with Gucci and everything else. Like he can put on a really good performance, but I think Gunn, because I think him and Gunn had it out on Twitter before also.
Gunn has said some things about him. I think he kind of referred to him as either a rapist or a pedophile. So, like,
Ooh,
I don't
okay.
quote me on that. I could be wrong, but I want to say it was some pretty big accusations.
Yeah.
Essentially, he was saying he's a shithead for sure. Like, it's something
I
along
mean,
those lines. So I don't think. I mean, I know me personally. I wouldn't want to work with people I think that are shitheads. So I wouldn't want to give them a platform. I wouldn't want to work with them. So I don't think you're going to be seeing Jared Leto back in the DCU. But that means, and I tweeted at Gunn already. I'm like, hey man, if you're recasting Joker, I was like, I'm just gonna put my person in there, and I think the It guy should do it. I think he's fantastic. I think he'd be great. And so I think that would be really awesome. But we'll see what happens. I do not think anybody's gonna like the guy in the Batman that's going to be the Joker is going to need to put on a performance like nobody's ever seen before. People are going to like him just because he's the Joker. It's like how comics just get bought because they have the Joker in it.
Yeah.
But to surpass everybody else, his performance is going to need to be unstoppable.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But anyways, that is all the questions and comments that we got.
Before we jump into comics, this just came out exclusively from Deadline. Warner Brothers Discovery boss David Zaslav holds town hall with new DC heads James Gunn and Peter Safran about new cohesive universe. Says exclusive. Deadline hears that the global Zoom meeting has held for Warner Brothers Discovery employees Thursday morning, on which Zaslav introduced new studios, co-chairmen, CEOs, Gunn and Safran. It marked was first appearance together in front of a company since being named to their post on October 25th. It says these execs expressed their shared excitement of the new structure, with Zaslav mentioning how they plan to build a Bible for a cohesive DC universe, one that is overarching across live action films, TV, animation, gaming, and more. Safran, Star Wars has continuity even throughout games. That's going to be very interesting if they end up taking that route. Safran, fresh from the production of Nun 2 in Europe, spoke about his love for such DC properties as Aquaman, which is the DC's highest grossing movie ever at 1.1 billion worldwide. In addition, he also adores the themes of Shazam. Gunn spoke about how he loves the interaction of Superman and Batman and how they are the same and different at the same time. While Gunn and Safran didn't mention anything about new projects, the former said he has a penchant for such DC superheroes as Metal Men and Batmite.
Oh, no.
So, like we said, those were the two. We called it. Gunn was going to pitch Metal Men or Batmite, and we called it. Now, again, it's not a pitch, but he did say, hey, I like these characters. They're a little zany, whatever. He said in that meeting. It says here, Zaslav expressed his excitement to have the duo on board, and with great characters, they're bound to spring to life. Gunn acknowledged Zaslav's admiration for DC and thanked him for the opportunity to lead the brand. And then everything else is basically just all of the, hey, Gunn and Safran have worked on this, and this is how they're going to move forward, blah, blah, blah. So that really looks like it's it. It says we've heard from some sources about confusion on the global green light power at DC and Warner Brothers now. Who has full authority? Warner's has been a place that has always greenlit the committee, particularly on the feature side. It's our understanding that no future DC decisions are made sans Gunn and Safran. Their input is integral and necessary on all future projects, so a wide map can be designed across the entire universe.
Yeah. There is so many articles coming out about people wanting to work with James Gunn now, which I never saw before. There's some director that made the Barbarian movie that was like, he has a Batman idea that he would love to make. He was like, I've never talked to James Gunn, but he was like, I would love to set up a meeting because it's a horror movie apparently. So, and James Gunn is a big horror guy. So I think he kind of wants to talk to him. Batmite and Metalman, I'm assuming would be like more along the lines of comedies. And I'm okay with that in the universe. I'm okay with comedy in the universe. I'm just not okay with Batman being funny. You know what I mean? I don't need Superman cracking a bunch of jokes. That granted, if they're cheesy jokes, I get it. I think Superman kind of does that. Everyone's dad jokes, probably. I don't need everybody being funny. That is my problem. That's how Marvel lost me. I don't need DC to do that. So we'll see. I do not have problems with jokes as long as they're well timed and in the right places. I don't need Batman to epically save somebody and then somebody farts. You know what I mean? Like, I don't need that. Thoughts on this is the headline on CBR right now. Constantine 2 director updates the Keanu Reeves sequel's progress. Director Francis Lawrence confirms that Keanu Reeves' Constantine is back with creatives currently trying to crack the story for the DC sequel. Do you think this is still going to happen?
It's going to be very interesting.
Because it's not even written yet. So then
it's not written yet. They could kill it. And I think, honestly, I think they could, unless Gunn is just like, hey, we're actually just going to call it Constantine again.
Yeah.
And we're going to have it be our first Constantine movie of the DCU.
Yeah.
You know?
I have a feeling it's not going to go through. It's not going to happen. But unless the only way I see it happening is if DC solidifies some like Black Label kind of thing. They're like, oh, we're going to put World Stories over here, and that's where it's going to be. So we'll see what happens. But anyways, let's move on to comics because we have a decent amount of comics this week. First of all, what did you think of the Wonder Woman issue? A book we never cover on this channel, but had Batman and Superman in it this week.
So I will be completely honest. I forgot about the Wonder Woman issue.
Ooh, damn.
Now, see, I forgot it this week, but while you were talking about it last week, because I legit, as soon as you're like, okay, let's talk about comics, I was like, oh shit, was I supposed to read Wonder Woman?
Yeah.
Because last week you had mentioned it and I was scrolling through it. So I remember seeing some panels, but I don't know any context of anything.
Yeah, so essentially this book is the Watchtower doesn't work. So I don't know what's going on or what's been going on in the universe outside of Batman, but the Watchtower is down apparently. And they're meeting because I don't know if there's a signal or something's coming from the Watchtower. So Wonder Woman's there first. Superman arrives, and also freaking Batman ends up showing up. This is the comment I made last week when I was talking about, you asked about the suit in space thing where he just had a cover over his mouth. And I was like, I call bullshit. In this, they had Batman show up with something around his chest and a helmet for oxygen and everything. That is a Batman thing to do. That makes sense. So I think they did a space thing way better here. And essentially all this story is the Trinity dealing with these shapeshifters that have somehow made it into this dead Watchtower. And they are able to shapeshift into the other Justice League. And they're like, what are you guys doing here? And they're like, oh, we've been secretly fixing the Watchtower. And they're kind of like, everybody's kind of sus. Wonder Woman throws the lasso of truth onto Martian Manhunter. And they find out that these guys are all kind of fake. And then, of course, the Trinity starts kicking ass, starts beating up all these people. And they lock them up into a jail. And essentially just turns into everybody kind of having like a bonding moment at the end. And I think they're talking about, I think Hippolyta just died. So I think they're kind of comforting, like Wonder Woman here. And then they bust out some cookies and they have some cookies. So it's like a wholesome thing. And they try to figure out what they're going to do with these people. And being the hopeful people that they are, they give these shapeshifters cookies. And that's just kind of how it is. So it's just like another typical Wonder Woman wholesome kind of story. Like they beat their asses, but at the same time, they're like, look, because those people are stranded there. They think that their people are going to come get them, but they're like, no, y'all are fucked. Sorry. We'll try to get you somewhere, but for now, you're going to stay here. And so that's kind of what it is. I think there needs to be more Trinity stories, to be honest. I don't think there's enough of them. I do think that there was a Trinity comic during New 52, maybe? or
No, it
Rebirth.
was actually the very beginning of Rebirth,
Yeah,
and
didn't do
it did
well, right?
not sell well.
Yeah.
I think
Um,
it only made 11 issues. It didn't even go a full 12.
yeah. I think it does get a little hard because what people try to do in the Trinity is they try to give each character their own story. You're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to write a story with all three of them.
Well, like the really annoying thing is like, oh well, if Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman team up, that means Ra's al Ghul, Lex Luthor, and Circe have to team up. Like
Yeah.
that gets a little annoying. Like it doesn't necessarily have to be that. That could be a fun little like arc that they do.
Yeah.
But like I remember the first arc of that story was them three getting uh like kind of possessed by, oh, what is it called? The black something.
I don't remember.
It's like a plant. Uh
Oh, the thing that takes over Superman that makes him
yes.
go into the Krypton world or dream
Yes.
of Krypton. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
Yeah, yeah,
remember
yeah.
that.
Uh
And Mongol shows up.
yeah, and
Yeah.
it was like a baby Mongol or whatever.
Yeah.
Uh all three of them were possessed by it.
Yeah.
You come to find out. And that was a really fun story. I really enjoyed it. Um But ever like after that, then it started to get into like, oh, there's Lex Luthor, there's Ra's al Ghul, there's
Yeah.
Circe. There was a story about the pits and like all of this stuff, and it got really convoluted and kind of stupid. But I totally agree. Like you just need to have a story for the three of them and just move forward. You don't need to have like the little gimmicky stuff.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's where, like, in the Justice League books, again, I agree with your idea of Justice League needs to be just an event book and not an ongoing. But yeah, I don't know. I think that's when you can create new characters. Create like you got to do the Dragon Ball Z thing, right? Like Goku keeps getting too strong, and then they just create another character that's stronger than Goku. And so they need to create these characters the Justice League has never dealt with, so the Justice League can deal with one character
Yeah.
instead of like, oh yeah, Lex Luthor talked to an alien like 20 light years away or whatever, and they're coming to Earth, and like it's just like, okay, calm down. It gets just too zany. But yeah, that was that book essentially. We're not covering I Am Batman. It was kind of what we expected.
I flipped through it and I was like, oh, it's basically not it's all a dream, but not all a dream. So
Yeah.
fuck this book.
Yeah, and then at the very end, he joins the new Justice League.
Yeah.
I'm just like, okay, I don't care. So that was that. By the way, I didn't read this, but how was the Death of Superman 30th anniversary? What was that?
I have not read it yet. That's going to
Oh
be
wow.
on my list to read this weekend. Did you read Dark Crisis on Infinite Earth though?
No, I completely forgot.
So,
I sped through it though.
one thing for me that kind
Oh
of
wait,
got
I didn't read it, but I skimmed this for sure. I remember this.
okay. So, I passed through a Twitter comment that said, "Oh, John Kent died this week. Are sales that low?" And I was
Mhm.
like, "What the fuck? I got that spoiled for me. I guess I have to go read Christ on Infinite Earth right now." So I read it. He doesn't die
Yeah.
at all, but it makes it look like it. And I will admit, like, the one thing that I have told a lot of people on Twitter that aren't really feeling connected to John is I said he has never gotten his ass beat before.
Yeah.
He's always been the rainbow and sunshine's hero that makes everything better in the world, and he has never really been humbled. So he got his ass beat and
Yeah.
nearly died, and then got saved by his father, by Superman, by
Yeah, the art
Clark.
looks great in this book.
Yeah.
I just don't like that it ends with like, dark side Deathstroke.
Deathstroke looks like he's turning into the fucking Hulk, dude.
Yeah.
I don't know
So
what's going on here.
this book always ends with this big splash panel like this, like something crazy happening. I'm just like, bro, these all feel the same. But yeah, essentially everybody's back. Again, the art looks amazing, but it looks like they defeated the main hero and now Deathstroke's the main villain, or they defeated the main villain and now it's Deathstroke.
Yeah, it's really weird. It's like, oh, we cut off the main power, but the machine's still going.
Yeah.
And so they have to defeat the machine, and that machine is Deathstroke. So
Yeah, so I just don't care about that story, to be honest.
yeah,
Um,
unfortunately, it's not as big as people thought it was gonna be.
yeah. So I want to just kill this story now. Batman Incorporated. Uh they already revealed who the killer is in issue 2, and it is a comment from issue 1 where we found out that Deathstroke, or not Deathstroke, that freaking Wish, what's his face? This isn't even the Wish version. This is Ghostmaker. Wish version is Valmont. Ghostmaker is, he had an apprentice, or he had basically a Robin before, and it didn't work out. And so, like, I guess that's why he's taking on Clown Hunter. Well, the person that's killing everybody is his disciple. And, like, that's all it is. So, like, the Ghostmaker Robin is the one killing all the teachers because he's like, death to teachers because my teacher left me for dead. And he caught Clownmaker. If they want to make this book good, have this freaking disciple kill Clown Hunter. Make it interesting.
You have been pitching that story every single time Clown Hunter is in a story. It's hilarious.
He gets destroyed immediately. Do something. He has done nothing.
When he was introduced in Batman, you're like, if you really want to make this story worth it, if you want the Joker War to be worth it, you got to kill Clown Hunter.
Yeah.
That didn't happen. Then there was a backup story with Jason Todd, and he's like, okay, if you really want to make this worth it, Jason Todd needs to fail, and Clown Hunter needs to die. Now, Batman Incorporated, he's like, okay, Clown Hunter needs to die now.
Yeah. If I ever get to write it, I'm going to write that story of how it should have happened, but I guarantee you somebody's going to kill Clown Hunter before I get to write Batman. Like, that's what's going to happen. Because Clown Hunter should die. Like, he's the perfect character too. But anyways, let's go. I asked you to read Urban Legends. Did you read the first story?
I did read this first story.
What did you think of it?
So you and Raphael, again, Raphael has been very vocal in the Discord as of late.
Yeah. Good combos though, even though we don't.
Yeah, I do like the conversations. This actually gives me the vibes of, there is a character in Marvel that is essentially this exact character. Except they aren't connected to like the speedster energy that the Speed Force is connected to this individual.
Yeah.
Instead, it's just more of like, oh, he's a hot rod type of guy, and he's the getaway driver.
Yeah.
This I really enjoyed. Now, one thing that I really enjoyed was the fact that they implied Two-Face but never showed Two-Face.
Yeah.
Because I think Two-Face, even if he were to be in a couple panels, I think would have taken away from this new character.
I agree.
And so keeping him out of this story, I think, was a very, very good decision. And I really loved the actual use of detective technology.
Yes.
To figure out who the hell this individual was.
Yeah. So the premise of this book is essentially, imagine the movie Driver, with Ryan Gosling. This is that character. And this character can best Batman. And I'm talking about, this character can do turns that Batman's like, bitch, what? Like, how the hell did I have the Batmobile? Like, and Batman, the Batmobile cannot catch up to this car. And he's like, there's no way. Like, I spent bajillions of dollars on my cars. Like, this makes no sense. To the point where this driver causes Batman to destroy one of his Batmobiles. And he's like, bitch, I need to make a new one. And so he starts doing detective work. And he's all like, there's just no way that they could be that fast unless. And he starts having the assumption that, could this person be a possible speedster? And so they call in a speedster for help. And this is Wally West. Or is it Wallace West? Right? The Black Wally, the Black Flash, Kid Flash?
I think
because there's two, right?
Yeah, I think it's Wallace. Yeah.
So Wallace shows up and they hook him up. They hook up his brain and all this stuff to this essentially driver simulator. And he's like, just drive. We want to see like what your signals give off in the machine. And we're going to test like what's going on. And we're going to build that into the next Batmobile. So essentially, they got like Speed Force technology built into the Batmobile now, like that kind of tech, or like they took the knowledge that they got from his brain of like the Speed Force energy and built it into the next Batmobile, which I thought was really cool. Because, and then what I thought was even like a nice little touch was that he gets buzzed on his phone. He's like, gotta go, guys. And he just like speeds away, which I thought that was kind of cool. So then, of course, there's another, heist or something happening. Batman is speeding with this driver. and the driver makes a turn, and Batman's able to make the turn too. And the driver's like, "Oh, what the hell?" And Batman knows, he's like, they're spooked. They're not driving how they normally are. And it gets, this person does like a hardcore like turn and like this weird like on two wheels to go between these